Great news, cartoon and football fans. My new book, Fashion Girl 3.0, is now on sale. The fourth book of the Fashion Girl series and the first full-fledged novel. Look for it on Amazon, iTunes, Barnes & Noble's website, and other sites where books are sold. At the end of this video, I will give a brief description of this new book.
The story you're about to see is a big, fat lie. No names have been changed to protect anybody.
Now in its 44th year in operation, combining cartoons and football together since 1981. This is America's first and foremost fantasy football league. We are the USCFL. The United States Cartoon Football League.
Let's get ready to rumble!
the no-goodest characters I ever seen. I'll be glad when you're dead, you rascal, you. I'll be glad when you're dead, you rascal, you. I'll be glad when you're dead with 6 feet over your head. I'll be glad when you're dead, you rascal, you. I wonder what have you got, you rascal, you. I wonder what have you got, you rascal, you. I wonder what have you got, what you got a lot. I'll be glad when you're dead, you rascal, you.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here to observe the passing of the Mindy Kaling version of Velma. This character will not be missed by any means. This character is so hated by everyone who had the misfortune of watching it, they wish they hadn't. Now let's pause for a moment of silence for the not so dearly departed. Now party like the end of the world is here! Yeah, baby! Greetings, cartoon and football fans. This is Robbie Graham of the USCFL Network, welcoming you to what we hope will be the finale of Season 2 of Velma. Like I said about the She-Ra reboot, rest in peace, She-Ra. May you never be heard from again. My sentiments are the same for this train wreck of a show. If you're joining us for the first time, may we extend to you a cordial welcome, and we hope you'll enjoy everything this channel has to offer, except for whatever this was. We also invite you to take a moment to subscribe to this channel and join our team. Normally, we strive to be one of YouTube's least offensive channels by providing a different spin about your favorite cartoon characters from the past and present, except for this show, that doesn't reflect on their true legacies. And this show provided a different spin, alright. Otherwise, if your favorite character or characters aren't mentioned in our videos, please leave a comment and we will answer your questions. Also be sure to ring the bell to alert you of when we put up any new videos. The USCFL is on Patreon, and you can help support us for as low as $3 US a month to as much as $5 US a month, which averages out to 10 to 17 cents a day. In time, we can offer merchandise and other perks to help show your love for America's oldest fantasy football league. What can I say about this show that hasn't been said already? Here's one. The Jerry Springer Show was top-notch entertainment compared to this show. Except for Mindy Kaling, who apparently has no shame, everyone who worked on this show in any capacity, even the janitors who had to clean up this mess, should be ashamed of themselves. Hollywood really has gone bankrupt creatively, and it shows. After 8 episodes, Velma 2 has a score of 16 points out of a possible 64 points, with a percentage rate of 20% based on the maximum score of 80 points. At the end of this video, We'll add up the score from Season 1 and give you a final total and percentage rate. In one moment, Reverend Wilson will give his final sermon about the final 2 episodes. Let's see if his words are nicer than mine.
They hide in the light, so you can't see their fears. Forgive and forget all the while. Love and pain become one and the same in the eyes of a wounded child. Because hell...
Good afternoon. This is Bob Mozart from the USCFL channel, welcoming you to this series of reviews of the new season of Velma animated cartoons on the Max streaming channel. I am going to try to rate the series on its own without comparing it to previous iterations of Scooby-Doo. Episode 9, The Real Villain. Velma awakens in a cage. Her captor turns out to be an anthropomorphic talking dog named Scrappy. He is one of Project Scoopy's super soldiers, and his mission was to spy on meddling teenagers for Project Scooby. He claims that he is innocent of the murders in Crystal Cove and only wants to clear his name and effect revenge on Don, the leader of Project Scooby, whom he blames for framing him for the murders. Everyone is searching the forest for Velma, each competing to be the first to find her. They do find Dr. Perdue, and Amber then reveals that she was hired by Dr. Edna Perdue to prove whether or not Fred's mother, Victoria, really was a ghost and not just a hallucination by Norval. They find Velma, and Dia is impressed by William's efforts to find her and finally accepts his proposal. Velma, Daphne, and Scrappy plot to capture Don. Velma convinces Sophie to accept Amon's proposal so that Don will come to Amon's bachelor party. Velma gives her blessing for the marriages of Wilma and Dia, and Amon and Sophie, but places a long list of conditions on both of them. Scrappy does not trust Velma and stays with Daphne, vowing that he will kill her if Velma betrays him. At the bachelor party, Don attends alone and is captured. However, Scrappy admits that he really was the killer all along. Scrappy was angry because the Project Scooby used vacuum cleaners to install fear in him and control his behavior. Velma reveals that she never trusted Scrappy, and the party waitresses use vacuum cleaners to trap him. Scrappy is not worried as he is arrested because he believes that Uncle Scooby will come to his rescue. Dr. Perdue is forced to relocate to her old laboratory under the Jones Mansion because the military is searching for her at the Crystal Cove Asylum. Victoria confronts Fred and Norval and tells them that she cannot rest in peace until she sees for herself that Fred has become a man and doesn't need her watching over him. She also wants him to be mature enough to be able to oversee her vast business empire. She first tries to possess Amber, but is unable to do so because Amber's soul is too strong. She then tries to possess Fred's body, but he is also able to resist her, and she is finally satisfied that he can stand up for himself. However, when she finally moves on into the afterlife, she finds out that she's been condemned to hell because of all the evil things that she did during her life. As she is dragged down into the flames, she blames Fred for this. Dr. Perdue gets the bodies of the 3 popular girls, but instead of putting their brains back in them, plans to keep one body for herself and use one for Scrappy and one for Uncle Scooby. This episode saw Scrappy confess to the murders, and he was captured. Wilma and Dia and Aman and Sophie are engaged with Velma's conditional blessings, and Victoria went on to her eternal damnation. However, there are still a few loose ends. For example, what will happen with the bodies of the 3 popular girls? Nevertheless, I give this episode a 3. Episode 10, Till Death. Velma and Daphne continue investigating to find out the identity of Uncle Scooby. Uncle Scooby shows up in Velma's bedroom and threatens her to stop the investigation. William asks Fred to be his best man, but the board of directors of the family company objects, as they do not think Fred is competent to represent the company at such a public event. In order to prove his trustworthiness, Fred picks them up in a horse and carriage. He accidentally whips one of the directors in the face, which reveals them to be masochists, and they now see Fred as adequately domineering. Daphne and Velma decide to sneak into Dr. Purdue's laboratory and switch body. Doing so allows them to better understand the life challenges that each has and continue to work the investigation. Velma now suspects that Dr. Purdue is Uncle Scooby. Scooby wants his and Scrappy's brains put into 2 of the bodies, while Dr. Purdue can have the 3rd. This way, all 3 can escape military surveillance and start to lead normal lives. Uncle Scooby then shows up and restores Velma's brain into her body. Velma now has enough clues to realize that Sophie is Uncle Scooby. Sophie concealed her identity because the male soldiers would never take her advice and concerns seriously. Velma was a military officer assigned to work undercover at the diner. Sophie was able to spy on Dia working with Dr. Edna Purdue's journals and was able to get enough information to continue the Super Soldiers project and create Scrappy. However, Scrappy went rogue, and Sophie and Dr. Purdue were forced to do his bidding. Velma, Daphne, and Amber capture Sophie. Norval and Lola discover that Dr. Purdue has the 3 popular girls' bodies and plans to put her and Scrappy's brains into 2 of them and Uncle Scooby into the 3rd. However, she has a change of heart and restores all 3 brains to their correct bodies. Lola is angry at Norval, however, because he all along thought that her brain belonged in Brenda's more attractive body. Scrappy breaks out of prison and wants revenge for his betrayal and crashes the double wedding. He kills many of the guests, including the board of directors, but Don helps the main characters in the wedding party escape in a helicopter. Velma stays behind to let the others escape, but Scrappy pushes her off of a balcony and she dies. He then uses a missile to shoot down the helicopter. He intends to kill the survivors, but Velma's ghost possesses his body and kills him. Dr. Purdue says that it is too late to restore Velma's ghost into the body. Amber says that she might be able to do something ritualistic when Halloween comes around. This episode wrapped things up. I said I was going to try to judge this series without referring back to previous iterations of Scooby-Doo. But one of the fundamental precepts of Scooby-Doo is that there is no such thing as a ghost. The monsters are always greedy men or women in rubber masks, preying on the superstitious locals. The few times that the rule has been broken, they have always eventually gone back to it. I therefore give this episode a 0. Note: there are rumors on fan websites that there will be a special Halloween episode of Velma later this year to wrap things up. We shall see. This is Bob Mozart from the USCFL Network, returning you to the wrap-up by our host and moderator, Robbie Graham. Thank you and have a good week.
I knew if I wake her, I'll wake up dead.
Welcome back. In golf, some golfers prefer to par the hole rather than get a bogey or worse. For this series, Season 2 scored par with Season 1. The final score for Velma 2 is 19 points with a percentage rate of 23.8% based on the maximum score. Overall, this series scored 38 points out of a possible 160 points with the same percentage of 23.8%. Should there be a Season 3? Some talk has been made about it, but if there is, all I can say is we are out of our minds if we watch it. But hopefully that won't happen. We'll just have to wait and see if that is the case. Otherwise, this show is done like dinner. When the US CFL season is over, we may do another episode runoff in the traditional sense, featuring two different shows pitted against each other. Until next Sunday, when we continue to cover the 2024 season, this is Robbie Graham of the US CFL Network wishing you peace. Take care and stay safe.
Eating shards of broken glass, then spend one more minute with you. I guess I might seem kinda bitter. You got me feeling down in the dumps, 'cause I'm stranded all alone in the gas station of love, and I have to use the self-service pumps. Oh, so honey, let me help.
Please buy a copy of my new book, Fashion Girl 3.0, now available on Amazon, iTunes, Barnes & Noble's website, and other sites where books are sold. Read about and meet Daphne Sandra Bates, daughter and granddaughter of the previous Fashion Girls, as she becomes the third woman to be called Fashion Girl. Follow Miss Bates as she learns what it takes to be a superheroine, her trials and tribulations, her presentation to the world, her first mission, and a final battle with her mother that will make this a must-read coming-of-age story for mature readers over the age of 18. The paperback version sells for $20.99 US dollars. The hardcover for $43.99 US dollars because of the extra material used, and $7.99 US dollars in digital format. The torch has been passed on to the next generation of style chicks. Read about Fashion Girl 3.0. Fashion Girl is an intellectual property of the United States Cartoon Football League.